Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is gonna be in English again because it's recovery talk time, and I asked you on Instagram on topics which you are interested in. And today's topic is gonna be how to deal with guilt, especially after eating, because I think guilt is something very common in eating disorder recovery and something that often keeps us stuck in recovery because we feel like we don't have power to manage those feelings. Therefore, we go like, I'd rather stay in my comfort zone and don't challenge those feelings and fears so that I don't feel uncomfortable. Today's video is gonna be how I deal with it, what I've learned, and what I think about it, and just a bit of talk. Hopefully I can help someone out there with my experiences. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and also comment if it was helpful or not. What I wanted to say, I'm still a bit sick because I got a cold this week. It's getting better, so please don't be confused by my voice. It sounds a bit different still, but I'm getting better. So yeah, let's get started. First of all, I say feeling guilty after eating is something very normal in eating disorder recovery, because your eating disorder obviously doesn't want you to change. It wants you to keep you stuck in your ED behaviors and your comfort zone, so you don't let your ED go. Feeling guilty is actually a sign that you've did something right. And I think this is the tricky part of recovery, to stay in that discomfort. But recovery isn't about feeling good and feeling happy all the time, because it's letting go of your behaviors and routines that made you feel safe. And therefore you have to sit with a lot of uncomfortable emotions and feelings, which is such a difficult thing to manage. But what I've learned in recovery so far is that every feeling, every emotion you have is gonna pass. So nothing's gonna stay with forever. Just think about a moment where you, I don't know, felt guilty. For example, because of fear food you challenged. You still feel guilty about that until today. Like when I remember, once felt guilty for eating, I think it was, yeah, it was a schnitzel. In Austria, we call it schnitzel. Today, I don't care about that anymore, so I'm fine with that. In that moment where I ate it, I was feeling so uncomfortable and cry in that moment. But today, it's for me like I forgot it almost. Like it doesn't matter anymore. Something I really recommend managing guilt after eating is that you prepare activities or that you learn routines that distract your mind after eating. So I think dealing with guilt after eating is something you can definitely, or you have to learn again, because you trained your brain so much to those feelings and thoughts you have about eating, like that you've done something wrong, that you're gonna gain weight, or I don't know what other thoughts you have. You trained yourself that. So in order to get rid of these thoughts and feelings, you have to train a new healthy mindset and routine. And this is something you can learn, or you have to learn. This is also something that I experienced is really possible. So what I did, I think I started with lunch. I think it was lunch, yeah. I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna sit down there at least for 30 minutes and do my puzzle. While I'm doing this, I listen to a podcast or to music to distract my mind, or I talk to my mother while she's cleaning the kitchen. And this is something I had to do every day for weeks, so that I trained my brain. I don't have to compensate after eating to manage those feelings. I've learned that I can sit there and do nothing, if that makes sense, because your eating disorder is telling you that this is nothing and you should burn your calories again. So in terms of my eating disorder, I was doing nothing, but I trained my brain that this is something completely normal and nothing to be scared of, and something that doesn't hurt me or will do something bad to me. I really had to learn and to train this because my brain is trained in so much unhealthy behaviors that is really much work to do, but it's possible. Next, this is something I've learned in therapy. It's actually a quote which really helps me. Still, it really helps me. It says, "You're not your feelings, you have feelings." And I think this is something just so true. Just say you feel guilty for eating, I don't know, burger, for example. You feel guilty, but you're not guilty. You know what I mean? I hope you know what I want to say, but you're still the same person. You're still a kind person, someone who loves to meet people, for example. You are not that guilt. Guilt is something your eating disorder is telling you you are, but you're not. And I've learned that I have to separate those feelings from me. So when I was deep in my eating disorder, I always came to my mom after eating and said, "Oh, I've done something wrong. I feel so bad after eating this," and things like that. Over the time, I've learned to say, especially when I was alone and didn't have someone to talk to, I often said to myself, my eating disorder is saying that. So I try to separate it from me so that I don't identify myself with this illness. And this is something that also helped me because I was not automatically saying the wrong things to me. Like I said, I'm not that guilt. I'm not what my eating disorder is trying to tell me. So I also try to build sentences that separate my eating disorder from me. For example, my eating disorder is telling me that I should not eat a schnitzel, for example. I managed, or I've learned that I'm not my eating disorder. I'm someone else. I know this will not throw away your feelings and emotions, but it might help you to manage feeling these feelings and emotions. I hope you can understand what I want to say. Next thing I've learned is that it's very important to sit with the discomfort. I know this might sound disappointing for someone out there because we often wish that we can, I don't know, throw these emotions away or don't feel the discomfort. But in fact, if you don't feel the discomfort, you're doing something wrong in recovery. As an example, I hope I explain it right now because in English it's a bit difficult for me. Just imagine you want to pull a ball in a swimming pool underwater. You want to keep it there. It takes so much power that it stays underwater, and if you just let it go, it will jump up and go out. So, and the same is with our emotions. If you try to keep them down and don't want to feel it, they get stronger. And the more you fight against them, or the more you try to not to accept them, I would say, the stronger they will get. So my advice for you is to accepting feelings and emotions is so necessary. Over the time you will see at the beginning they will be very high, but they will decrease over the time and you will feel comfort again. I promise you, it will pass. Like I said at the beginning, this is something I've learned and I've experienced by my own and was so helpful because it just happened today to me that I felt very guilty about breakfast for some reason. And I was like, okay, I know that feeling, but I'm not that feeling. And I know it's gonna pass and I know I'm gonna feel better again. Also, what I mentioned kind of was getting skills after eating. When I was deep in my ED, I always burned the calories I ate directly after eating. So I ate lunch and after that I did a long walk to manage guilt and burn the calories off. And something you really also have to train and have to normalize is doing things after eating that don't burn calories or compulsive behaviors. Things like talking to people, doing puzzles, doing crosswords, or studying. Also creative things like painting. I also like to write. I also like to journal my thoughts and how I feel. Just something that isn't compulsive, isn't supporting your ED. It's very important. I know it's hard for the beginning, but I promise you, the more you do this, the easier it gets. And for me, it was like, after a while, it got just like automatically behavior. Like I was finished lunch and I went to my puzzle and did, like I said, for half an hour. And then after that, I didn't feel that full after my meal anymore because I've already had 30 minutes between. So therefore, I also wasn't feeling that guilt that strong anymore. Really, if nothing of that works for you, I recommend starting slow. Like, don't go for it like, I'm gonna have my biggest fear fruit, and after that I'm gonna sit for 3 hours and doing painting. Set your goals at something you can achieve. Like, I also started slow, but I wanted to be sure that I really can do this, so I have this success feeling. And I tried to increase the time and the challenges every time I felt safe again in my new behaviors. And yeah, so I don't get unmotivated if something doesn't work for the first time, if you know what I mean. Because if you set your goals too high, it might not work for the first time as you want it to. And this can be very unmotivating, or like an excuse. Recovery isn't for me. There you see. No, recovery is for everyone who really wants to get out of it. So there isn't an excuse. If something does not work, try it again or set your level a little bit lower. So I would say that's it for today's recovery talk. I hope I could help someone out there. Please let me know in the comments. Also, if you want to, you can share your experience or tips in the comments down below. As I said, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I hope we see us next time again when it is about recovery talks. Thanks for listening and for staying in this video. Hope we see us next time. Bye!